Hi there. This is such a this topic that I want to bring to you today is a difficult one to discuss, and yet it is such a freeing one. Hi, I'm Dr. Sabrina Starling. I'm your host on the Profit by Design podcast, and we record here live every Friday from 11:30 Central. So if you're watching this live, thank you for being here. Um, I want to talk about embracing failure, shame, and guilt as an entrepreneur, and really reframing how we think about our experiences as an entrepreneur, and thinking about being on a journey in entrepreneurship. This topic was inspired for me when we did our jump start recently. And as we were winding up, we were on the fifth day, and one of the participants was asking questions about joining the Better Business, Better Life program. And in the course of asking questions, said, I'm a little concerned because my finances are not in order and my books are not in order, and I'm kind of, I feel a little bit of shame letting you guys see, as I come into the program, where I am and how messy things are. And, I heard that. And first off, I was so honored that this individual felt safe enough, in the small group setting that we had created during the jumpstart over the course of 5 days, to be honest and vulnerable and take the risk in sharing that. And I took a step back as I responded to that, because it made me so aware of all the areas in our businesses and in our lives where we are susceptible to feeling like somehow we're not measuring up, that somehow there's an entrepreneur out there who's succeeding and everything is perfect in their business because somehow they just know how to do everything right. And that's kind of the standard we hold ourselves up to. Like, maybe you watch me and you think, oh, Dr. Sabrina's got it all together. And no, I'm just like you. I'm on a journey. I'm on my own learning and growth journey. And so what I want to talk about today is really stepping out of the shadows of failure, shame, and guilt, and being just aware that if you feel this in anywhere in your business or in your life, it's normal. This is part of the journey that we're all on, and we're on a learning journey. And when we have a mindset that because things aren't going right in our business, because we have cash flow challenges or people problems, if we decide it must be us, like we must be the problem, there's something we're not figuring out or we don't know how to do, and we're somehow bad entrepreneurs because of that, then that's where the shame and guilt, it can easily step in. And shame is psychologically, shame is a more primitive emotion even than guilt. Because shame causes us to want to wither up and play small and hide. And that's not what we need to be doing at all as entrepreneurs. But the worst thing about shame and guilt is that it puts us on this path where we're quiet and we don't speak up about what's going on, and because we don't think anybody else would understand what's going on, and then we internalize more, and we get back to, it must be me, there must be something wrong with me. And so one of the worst things that we can do as entrepreneurs is to shut down when we have failure and when we have problems and challenges in our businesses. But that's kind of our natural tendency. And especially if we have, experienced harsh criticism anywhere in our lives, when we've messed up somewhere, then we're going to be much more prone to kind of hide our mistakes and want to cover them up. But the hard thing, I don't know if you've noticed this, but when you own a business, you can't hide your mistakes because you have team members and you have clients and customers. Everyone sees your mistakes. And so I want you to know, if you're in a place where you're feeling shame and guilt over anything that's going on in your business, you are definitely not alone. We've all felt that and experienced that in different ways in our businesses. And that's what today's episode is about. So If we have anyone here watching live, I want to acknowledge you for being here. I appreciate you being here, and I want to invite you into the conversation. So if anything that I'm sharing resonates with you and you want to drop some comments in the chat, please do so, because not only are you saying, hey, I've been there, I've done that too, another entrepreneur may see that and find some comfort in your experiences. But I also want to share that we really want to have more of a live audience here on the podcast when we're recording. So today, if you're here live with us and you drop some comments in the chat, we are going to send you a signed copy of my book, The 4-Week Vacation. So interact with us. Let me know you're here. Back to our topic. I remember a few years ago when I was talking to one of our clients who had made big plans and worked really hard on getting ready for a 4-week vacation. And I was checking in because 4 weeks had gone by and we had our next appointment. And I said, how did it go? And I was really excited and ready to celebrate. And his response was, I didn't do it. I failed. And I could just hear the heaviness in his voice. And I said, you failed? How did you fail? Tell me what happened. And as he told me what happened, I realized he thought he failed. I didn't think he failed at all. So he had a weak team member that he had been tolerating on the team, like many of us do. And he was going to handle it when he got back from his 4-week vacation, but he thought, you know what, let me just get through the 4-week vacation before I handle this well. While he was on his 4-week vacation, that team member created some drama with another team member, and he ended up losing both team members. Both resigned while he was out, and that meant that his other team members had to call him back because there wasn't enough people to do the work that needed to be done now. And so he only got 2 weeks off instead of 4 weeks. And in his mind, he saw failure, and he really felt such shame about it, because he said, Dr. Sabrina, there's others in my group. They're taking their 4-week vacations and they're succeeding. I'm the only one now, and I messed up, and it's all me. And it was just this harsh self-criticism. And my heart was just aching as I listened to him, because I thought, oh my gosh, your gremlins are just attacking you all over the place. I said, let's step back from this and let's look at, number one, you got 2 weeks off. That's longer than you've ever been able to be away from your business fully unplugged. And what are the lessons to be learned here in this experience? What lessons are there? And as he started talking, he said, well, the biggest lesson I learned is not to tolerate drama and team members who are constantly stirring it up with other employees. He said, I thought I could make it through with this one person, but the reality is I should have fired him 6 months ago and spent the time training someone else, and things would have been in a much stronger position. But hindsight being 2020, he said, I didn't feel that coming up to this vacation. I just things were okay. They were good enough as they were. He said, but now looking at it, I realize I cannot afford to keep team members on like that, because I also lost an A player in the process of that. And, I said, let's embrace that. That is tremendous learning. And as we kind of talked through all of this, he did come to see that he hadn't failed. And that one experience with this particular business owner is what has taught me that when it comes to the 4-week vacation, every vacation is a test. Even the big 4-week vacation is a test. And it's an opportunity to learn about what's strong in our business and what areas aren't as strong. And when something goes wrong when we're on a 4-week vacation, we just look at that as an opportunity for, how do I learn from this, and what systems can I put in place? What do I need to do differently as a leader on my team so that the next time around things are better? And so I want you to hear that. And especially as you think about for yourself, setting your business up where you're going to start vacation testing in your business and being away and fully unplugging, that there are going to be things that go wrong and your best laid plans don't always work out. And that's okay, because number one, you're still getting a lot more time away fully unplugged than you would otherwise. And you are able to find out what needs attention in your business, what what areas need to be strengthened, and where do you need to step up in your own leadership, and what do you need to learn about your leadership. But I want to give you a framework to think about, like the entrepreneurial journey, because I always come back to a mentor that I had years ago who said, Sabrina, the entrepreneurial journey is the greatest personal development plan you can ever put yourself on. And I've been in business now 17, 18 years. And I look back on when I started my business and how much I had to learn. And I had no idea how much I had to learn. But the reality is, when we're in startup phase, we have to learn how to market our business. We have to learn how to sell. We have to learn how to do bookkeeping. A lot of us who come into business don't even know bookkeeping. We don't know how to do that. And we have to learn how to do it. And oftentimes we make mistakes. And when I handed over my bookkeeping to a real bookkeeper, there was a lot of cleanup that needed to be done because I had made mistakes. And I could have looked at that and said, oh my gosh, I'm so ashamed. My books are a mess. But I just looked at that as, you know what? I'm highly incompetent as a bookkeeper. That is not my skill set. And I'm so glad to have somebody who can really help me with that. And if I would have decided I can't bring in help, or I can't have someone come in and help me with my business or look at my numbers even, because I felt ashamed about my books, I wouldn't be where I am now. Because I've opened up in those situations and reached out for help, I got the help that I needed, and it allowed me to move on to the next thing that I needed to work on in my business. And so if we look at, every time there's a mistake or a failure and we say, oh my gosh, I screwed up. Why am I such a failure? Why am I so stupid? Those are all judger questions, and they get us right into the judger pit. And when we're in the judger pit, we don't make good decisions. We set ourselves up to shrink our perspective on what are the opportunities around us and what's even possible for moving forward. It's a fear-based reaction, and it's very much minimizing for us. And so we have a choice when we find ourselves having those feelings of, why am I such a failure? Why am I so stupid? Why do I keep screwing things up? We can just identify, you know what, we're on a personal development journey as entrepreneurs. And as our businesses grow, we're having to learn a lot of new things at each stage in business. We're learning new things. So I want to give you some powerful questions when you find yourself feeling shame or guilt for something that's going on in your business. The first powerful question is, what do I need to learn? Who might I learn from? What support do I need? Who can help me? And if you're looking back at a failure, one of the most powerful questions is, what can I learn from this? What lessons are in this for me? And when we're in the judger pit, thinking about, I'm such a failure, why am I so stupid? It can feel really hard to even come up with these better questions to ask. So one of my favorite books that I want to share with you is The Choice Map, or not The Choice Map. That's the tool that's in the book. The book is Change Your Questions, Change Your Life by Dr. Marilee Adams. And in the book, she has the choice map tool, and the choice map tool lays out the judger path versus the learner path, and the powerful questions that you can ask yourself when you find yourself in the judger pit. And that tool is one, at different times in my life, I've printed it out. I've had it on the refrigerator. I've shared it with my family members. When we share it with our clients, a lot of times they take it and share it with their teams, and they have it posted all over the office, because it really supports us all in staying in a very positive frame of mind. And so I want to share a very personal example of how we have these seasons in our businesses, and we need to honor that and understand that as part of being in business. So, we go from the startup phase to the growth phase, and then we have to reorganize the business, because when we grow, things get messy. And one area where growth can happen and get really messy is having a lack of awareness around needing to slim down around the sweet spot. So when you get really good at sales in the beginning with your business, and then you get more and more sales and more business coming in, then you have to hire people. And a lot of times no one has taught us that before we go hiring, we should look at slimming down the business and making sure we have a clear sweet spot so that we don't have difficult clients and customers that we're trying to hire team members to deal with, because those team members aren't going to enjoy dealing with those difficult client and customers to begin with. And so that's an area, growth is an area where things can quickly slide off the rails. And my personal experience with this was right before COVID. Tap the Potential was growing quickly and rapidly, and we had this significant momentum going on. And I had made some decisions to invest in team and platforms to support our growth. Well, then COVID happened, and I mean, we lost sales immediately. I mean, thousands of dollars in sales immediately. And so our projected revenue plummeted. And meanwhile, we had these expenses, and I thought, oh my gosh, what do I do? And so at the time I thought, okay, COVID, surely, it's 2 months, 3 months at the most. So I don't want to reverse any decisions at this point, because these decisions were setting us up to be able to provide good service and quality service to our clients through the growth. And so I didn't reverse those decisions. And what ended up happening is we had gone into COVID. I think we had $1,000 on our line of credit. I mean, we had so little debt. A few months in, and a year into COVID, there was over 6 figures of debt from me holding on to, I made these decisions about growth, and we're not growing. We're losing money, and our sales are very different than they were 6 months ago or 8 months ago. And so that was very hard to recover from. I felt a lot of shame about it because I don't like being in debt. It doesn't feel good to be in debt. And the thing, though, was I didn't hide that. I didn't keep it a secret. I talked to people, and I reached out to colleagues. I reached out to, coaches and mentors. And I said, here's what's going on. I'm trying to get a handle of this. I'm trying to figure this out. The business environment has shifted a lot. And so I was getting a lot of good feedback and input. And had I just hunkered down and was like, I don't want to tell anybody about this, I wouldn't have had the resources and the support that I needed around me to help me think and see opportunities that I wasn't seeing, because I was so I was in that survival trap mode, right? Where fear starts to set in, and I knew it. And I was trying to keep that from happening, but reality was it was happening no matter how hard I tried. And the key, though, was reaching out for support. And so when we feel shame, that's that feeling of, I just want to hide. I don't want to tell anybody what I'm going through, but it is the support that gets us through. And because of reaching out for that support, we've gotten on a much healthier trajectory as we've recovered from that over the last 2 to 3 years. And the business is a lot stronger now. And we're going back through a growth cycle. But this time around, we're doing growth in a different way. We're controlling it as much as it's hard to control growth, but we're controlling it and managing it, being planful, and we're looking ahead. But one of the lessons, and as I looked back on the experience in COVID, one of the things I didn't anticipate was an event like COVID happening during growth. And now, as we go through growth, because I've had that experience with some catastrophic world event that comes in and lasts for a long time and impacts the economy and businesses everywhere, I'm aware that those things can happen now. And so I'm much more aware of cautious decisions and making decisions that aren't holding us back necessarily, but they're reducing our risk as we go forward. And I think that's the best way to describe it, is because of what I experienced and what I learned in COVID and what I saw other businesses going through during COVID. We're much more cautious with the cash flow and keeping that strong and making sure we protect that as we make decisions on the team and as to what is needed. And so This is one awareness that I think all of us entrepreneurs need to have, is that when we are making decisions in our businesses, we are making these decisions based on the best information we have at the time. So I could easily look back at myself in 2019, end of 2019, and say, how could you be so stupid? Why would you think that you should invest all of this? And I don't. I look back at myself and say, you had no idea what you were about to go through. And wow, I hope you were enjoying December 2019, because, March 2020 was going to be a whole different picture. And that's, I think we all need to be able to give ourselves that kind of grace. And one of the things that's really interesting to me about us humans psychologically is we are much more likely to extend grace to other people than we are to ourselves. We are much harsher critics of ourselves than we will be with other people. And I love when I'm coaching a business owner and they're clearly stuck in guilt and shame. And I say, if you were talking to your best friend about this situation, what would you say to your best friend? And all of a sudden, like, the perspective shifts, and the business owner will usually say something like, well, I would say, take it easy on yourself. Like, you're really being hard. You have some high expectations here. And so I want to encourage you to extend more grace to yourself and recognize you're not alone on the entrepreneurial journey. We all go through peaks and valleys. And if your business is going to grow, at every stage of growth, you are going to be stretched to learn new skills. And reaching out for support, asking for help. If you're in that place and you want help from the Tap the Potential team to help you navigate the growth and do it in a way that you can still have a life, because that's the hardest thing about a growing business, is it takes over our lives. That's what we specialize in at Tap the Potential. So book a call with us. Just go to tapthepotential.com and book a call, and you'll get to talk with one of our success concierges who will identify, what are the challenges that you're feeling or experiencing, and what support, what resources do you need? Maybe it's joining our Better Business, Better Life program. Maybe that's what's right for you, but maybe there's something else that you need, and they can connect you with those resources. And we actually have our success team members here with us today, Carson and Caitlin. They're in the chat interacting, they're sharing resources. And we have set ourselves up to really be a place to support entrepreneurs throughout the journey, because we recognize how lonely it can be to be an entrepreneur and to be experiencing these challenges. One of the things that Carson and Caitlin do so well is getting on the phone and connecting and just having the conversation and getting you to talk about where you are right now. What are the challenges? Because a lot of times you're so busy, you're in the challenge and I'm just trying to work through this. I need to go nose down. And Carson and Caitlin invite you to come into that conversation with them. And as soon as you start talking and sharing with someone else what is going on, you are, number one, you're opening yourself up to receive help. But number two, you're going to hear yourself identify possibilities that you don't hear when you're in your head having the same conversation over and over in your head. I call that circling the drain. When you start talking and sharing, you stop circling the drain, and that's such a powerful experience. So I hope that as you've been listening to this today, if you have been experiencing like guilt or shame about anything that's going on in your business, this gives you a different perspective to recognize this is part of the journey. You're learning new skills, and every time we learn new skills, we're going to fail. We're going to have mistakes. I love to do art. I love to paint. I love to draw. I love to knit. And anytime I learn something new, whatever it is that I create that first time, it looks awful. Like, that's just part of the process of learning and being creative. Entrepreneurs are creators, and we're making things and we're making mistakes and we're learning from our mistakes. Every business that you look at and you see an entrepreneur and they look like they're having tremendous success, you are not seeing the string of failures behind them. You're just seeing the outcome of their learning from those failures. So embrace your failures, reach out for help and say, there's skills I need. I need some support. Show me where I can learn those skills. And that's what we at Tap the Potential are set up to do. We're set up to show you the skills. And if we're not the right people for whatever stage of business you're in, we're going to send you to the right people so that you get the help you need. We want you to have success on your entrepreneurial journey. So book a call with us. Head on over to tapthepotential.com and you'll see the link to book a call. And we would love to support you. Bye for now.